Welcome back, Forester Dragons. We're going to do our third week of our Dreamcatcher. Our last week, we are going to start to apply color to our Dreamcatchers. So far we have our visual texture on here, and we cut our aluminum foil and our paper towels for our tactile texture. So this week we are going to start to apply the color. Now, we're going to be using crayons, markers, and watercolors, or just water and markers, whichever you have. So in saying that, we are also utilizing those analogous colors. Remember in the beginning when I talked about using the analogous colors, colors that share a common color. So orange and yellow orange both have orange. So the way you do that is if you have orange and yellow, you just kind of overlap them and then you make that yellow orange. So we're going, when we do our streaks, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, you want to pick two colors that are next to each other on this color wheel. Okay, and remember the color wheel, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Got it? Okay, we've got our balance, right? Remember? Our balance, our radial balance, and our web of our Dreamcatcher. And we've got pattern going on in here. So we're going to use crayons to color the small areas. So I'm going to take and color all the small triangles. I'm not going to color the entire thing, but I am going to color some of the smaller areas, the designs, and the beads on my visual texture. So you can see how I'm using the crayon, because the wax in this crayon will work as a resist when we run the water over it. Okay, I'm going to work on coloring my designs. I'm not going to keep you watching me for the whole thing of it, because that's silly. I'll finish coloring them with crayons, and then I will bring you back on so you can see it. Okay. Okay, so you can see how I finished coloring the patterns up here. I left a little bit of white in each section, but I got most of the color in there. Then on the beads that I drew, I'm now going to apply some color to those beads. So I'm just going to fill them in with a color. And you can do all different, or you can keep sections in the same pattern, whatever you want to do. And then I'm also going to apply the crayon to my feathers that I drew on here. But I want you to combine three colors, and they need to be analogous colors. So colors next to each other on that color wheel. Remember Roy G. Biv. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. So I'm going to do, on one of the feathers, I'm going to do, we know green and blue are next to each other. And yellow is, so it goes yellow, green, blue. So I'm going to do that as one feather. I'm going to do orange, red, and maybe I'll use that yellow also next to the orange. Here, I'll use this one. And then maybe I will do a purple, and then I might use a blue again. Purple, blue, And next to purple is also red. So I'm going to do like this. These are my feathers. I'm going to start with the lightest color, always in the center. And I'm going to just kind of color along either side of that center point. Then I'll do the next lightest color, which in this case is green, and I'm overlapping. So I'm covering part of the yellow, but not the whole thing, just part of it. Then my darkest on the edges. And you can do it the opposite. You can start with your darkest color in the middle. It's up to you. Okay, so you can see that first feather is done. So I'm going to continue to start with the lightest in the middle, and I'm going to keep going to my next color, analogous color set. Okay, because remember, when it shares that common hue, so when I overlap that green and that yellow, I'm creating that analogous color. Okay. Now, at this point, I'm about ready to do my streaks all the way down the picture. So I'm going to finish my last set of feathers, and in this case, I'm going to do this one in the middle. Okay, so I finished my feathers, I've colored my beads, and my dream catcher at the top is done. I'm ready to do my analogous wash over here, over the entire dream catcher. Now, if you have liquid watercolors, you can pick two colors that are next to each other and overlap them down the dream catcher. But if you don't have that available to you, maybe you have watercolors like this. I'm going to show you two ways you can do this. So I'm going to pick, I think, red and purple. So those are next to each other on the color wheel. Once they overlap and bleed together, they're going to create that analogous color. So I'm going to create red and purple streaks all the way down my dream catcher, even over the center, the web. I'm going to just overlap and have these long curvy lines all the way down my dream catcher. I'm going to turn it so you can watch me. All the way down to the bottom. Okay, then I'm going to overlap with the purple, doing the same exact thing. Now remember, I told you there's many ways of creating this kind of flowing movement in your picture. You can utilize watercolors, the markers with water, which is what I'm doing here, but I'm also going to actually bring in the watercolor. I'm going to do it in multiple ways. Or if you have liquid watercolor, you can pour it over. So now at this point, I'm ready for the water. So I would just start applying the water all over where I put the marker, and you can see how it starts to bleed. I'm actually going to apply a little bit of watercolor and bleed that in here as well to get kind of some darker contrast. I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to finish bleeding my marker and applying a little bit of watercolor all over my dream catcher, and then I'll come back to you and show you how to finish up with the tactile texture. Okay, you can see how I've kind of finished the streaky with my two analogous colors, well, with my red and my purple, and when they overlap, they're creating that red purple. Okay, so I've got my analogous background done. I'm ready for my tactile texture. So I'm going to take those foil feathers I had cut and the paper towels that go in the middle, and I'm just going to glue them right here at the end of my shorter strings. So let me grab my glue. Be sure you use lots of glue to glue them, because foil tends to want to pop up. And you're just creating kind of that tactile texture. I'm going to glue on my foil beads also, and then I'm going to glue in the center my paper towel, and on that paper towel I would apply I can apply some watercolor and some bright colors maybe and overlap them. And on my bigger one, the one that I'd already done, I did put a little strip of like a line of foil in the center too. I'm going to pause it and then I'm going to show you after I'm done. Okay, so you can see how I added the visual texture. I even added the aluminum foil up here. You can add it more up here than I did. I have it in the beads, I have the paper towel, the foil. I've got my visual and tactile texture, my radial balance, I created my patterns, and I used my analogous colors. You can see how I added more foil in this one. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this project, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.